Must-have attachments for Warzone 2. What do you need to put on your guns to really make them viable on long range, mid-range, short range? Let me explain recoil steadiness, stabilization, control, while giving you already some loadouts for Warzone 2. As an example, we're taking the RPK, which is going to be an absolute long-range monster. For the optic, as long-range shooters, we have two. That is the VLK 4.0 and also the Schlager. Both are amazing. Schlager is only 3.4 times, where VLK is 4 times magnification. This you tune to far for less visual recoil and a little bit more aim down sight speed, but you would also get more flinch, so keep that in mind if you feel like your gun is bouncing away as you're getting shot. If you're putting this now in a wall, the gun shakes abnormally left and right, whatsoever, goes all over the place. What are the attachments that now take care of this kind of mess, left and right bounce and whatsoever? And there's a few keywords to look at. We do have a recoil stabilization and we do have a recoil steadiness. Recoil steadiness essentially does really that. It makes the recoil more steady by centering it horizontally and slightly vertically. So it does almost work like recoil control. Putting on the pineapple grip, you can also tune it towards aim down sight speed, and the only thing you're losing here is hip fire accuracy. That's perfect. This can stay the same. Then you have the stock, and stocks are very simple: recoil control and aiming stability. Recoil control is the shrinking together horizontal and vertical. For the tuning, you can go for more aiming stability and aim down sight speed. This is good because if you're aiming down sight, you don't want your gun to actually waver around. You want to be it as still as possible. With these attachments already, the gun does feel plenty good. And if you look at this kind of like monstrosity wibble wobble from left to right, if we're now putting something next to it, already with these few attachments with the bonus of steadiness and recoil control, we have made this way less of an earthquake. Now for the muzzle, there's a couple of options. You can just go for recoil steadiness, combination of recoil steadiness and stabilization. This is the double trouble. It would be horizontal shrink plus horizontal and vertical shrink. Does work very good. Have to say though, these effects are not as good as if you go for the real vertical and horizontal shrinking together. Keep in mind though that shrinking your gun vertically together also can introduce more horizontal again. We could take the vertical and horizontal sock in for more recoil stabilization and gun kick control. You could here also just go for the tier for only horizontal if that is what your gun really suffers with. What you really don't want to take is recoil smoothness and recoil control. This does seem like a very good muzzle, but again, we don't know how suppress actually is going to work. But the actual smoothness does nothing, like really nothing. Completely useless. But recoil control is a little bit there. Now that's 4 out of 5 attachments. Usually you would take a barrel with recoil control, but we have none. Since this is a long range gun, we gotta be looking at bullet velocity, and that's where ammunition comes in play, and you have the high velocity rounds, which reduce your damage range. That's fine. Most importantly though is we can even tune this towards recoil steadiness a bit. Yes, sure, we cut down from the velocity part we get, but it's such a huge gain of velocity that cutting a little bit is not damaging. And here you do have recoil smoothness, which doesn't do anything, so we might as well just pump out again our damage range if we want to, but can as well just leave that on 0. And that together now, if you have to shoot this on the long range, creates a really amazing RPK already. Can this formula now be used for the other LMGs, for example, and assault rifles as well? Let's go with the Scar, for example. The Scar has 2 barrels. The tac short, not worth it, and the Tundra does give damage range and bullet velocity. Actually good in this case, does not do anything for our recoil control, but damage range and bullet velocity is quite a good thing. And here you can actually do recoil steadiness. Could go for more damage range, but again, not needed in this case. We have a good damage range and the aim down sight speed should be fine. Then for the optic, we're going back for the Schlager. I've been getting a love for that one. And we're tuning this also again for less visual recoil and more aim down sight speed. Putting this into the gun range, it does feel plenty stable already, but you notice just here in the back line, it goes a little bit around and around, and you do see how it's like bibbity bouncing left and right a little bit. It doesn't really have horizontal, but it's also not like stable, steady enough. So here we're going for the pineapple again for steadiness, and yes, tune that towards ADS speed. And then you can also look for your stock. We have the aiming stability recoil control stock almost on every gun. That works perfectly fine. We tune this towards aiming stability again for no sway. Bring that in now. We do already have almost no sway. This is very good and controlled. Keeping this on this target very nicely and better on the back, but it still goes a little bit over the place. Now, obviously, since it goes over the place up and left, it does feel perfect to really look at the either Komodo Heavy or for the horizontal and vertical recoil with the Extend Havoc. Here in this case, I'm going to actually take the Komodo Heavy, go for stabilization and gun kick control, because usually vertical is the easiest to control. And that's where we're going to come in with just pulling our mouse down, but having our gun at least not bounce anymore. And you notice how suddenly on the range, this just really nicely keeps on. And you don't really have to fight it that much anymore. Yes, up you have to fight, but the left and right stay super together. Now, obviously, you would probably want bonus bullets, so you can take the stock off if you want to, and we could put a 60 round mag on that. You then have the 60 round mag super beamer that you can shoot away. Keep in mind though, yes, you took out some aiming stability now, so you will have a wee bit more idle sway, but getting this on and getting this on about, that's it. Now, since all good things are 3, and a lot of you probably have the M4 leveled, let's actually have an eye on the M4 with these attachments. So again, we would be going here for a combination of the Schlager, tuning that for less visual recoil. For the barrels, we do have the carbide shroud for recoil control and bullet velocity, but we also have the high tower barrel for bullet velocity, damage range, recoil control. So the triple, and that creates recoil steadiness even more. We'll leave this as it is. And under barrel, again, let's make it more steady with the pineapple. Tune that towards aim down side speed. You do notice the pattern, obviously. Before we do anything more, let's put that into the range right now, because the M4 is known for the jack of all trades, so it should already be relatively easy to control, but you notice it's kind of unruly on the distance. I could get the first shots on, but it does not feel good. Now, obviously, it only has 30 bullets, so we probably want to go for the 60 round mag. That leaves us only with the muzzle left. And here we would probably go for the Komodo Heavy, because you notice it was mostly shaking left and right. The vertical was okay. It wasn't like big on the vertical, and the fire rate plus caliber doesn't throw it that much up. Tuning this now for recoil stabilization and gun kick control as well, putting it back into the firing range. And we're, voila, having again a very low recoil beamer. The pattern works. Now, as a bonus, what's my first Warzone loadout going to be? I'm going to be taking the HCR 5.6 because I love that gun stupid, with a Bruin Turako stock, which gives you sound suppression, recoil control, and bullet velocity. Then pineapple grip, again tuned for aim down side speed, with a Coom that gives you recoil steadiness and aiming stability. And yes, you can go for more recoil stabilization on top. Then the rear grip here has recoil control into recoil steadiness and aiming stability with the Schlager. You do have a 60 round base mag, and it just does feel very natural and good to shoot this away. There is some shakiness in the end that I'm okay with and I can handle. For the SMG, I'm going with the Fennec. Been an all-time lover of this gun. Can't handle the Fennec Ironside though, so I have to take a side. That would be the Chrono Mini Pro in my case. Least visual recoil because, damn it, the Fennec shoots very fast. It has a 30 round base mag, which technically is enough, but you really want to have the 45 rounds to not just burn through your ammunition. And since the Fennec has a left and right wibble wobble when it's shooting, we're definitely going to be looking here at the horizontal and vertical recoil control with a Bruin cubic comp on recoil stabilization and gun kick control. If we're already throwing this into a wall here right now, you notice how much more stable than before it is. It's still over the place because that's just the Fennec essentially, but that means we want to go for the ignition barrel, which gives damage range, bullet velocity, hipfire accuracy, and recoil control. Now, that does make our aim down sight worse, but we can tune into the direction. We still get a good chunk of damage range, and we can even get more recoil steadiness, and as you know, that helps the recoil stay on the path. There would be 4 attachments so far right now, and let's see how we do when we shoot this guy up close. That feels very good, and even shooting that guy feels fairly decent. We're now putting this here into the wall in comparison to the shake and bake we've had before. You do notice that the recoil control really does help to stabilize. You do still go left and right, and that's down to the fire rate of the Fennec. You can't really take much care of that. You can now, if you want to, add an underbarrel for even more recoil steadiness and tune this for aim down side speed because you're not going to be hip firing at all. And if we're putting this into the firing range, your ADS time is good. For an SMG in Warzone, more than enough, but the important part is to really keep this on the target. Now, that being said, that we're using this really as a full SMG, and now let's say 10 meters and below. By the way, notice how the steadiness kicks in. You could also take the pineapple grip off and here go for the VLK LZR for aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. That instead of reducing our aim down sight speed, we go for a wee bit more, making this a quicker ADS. That when you're walking around a corner or running around a corner, you actually can aim down sight quick enough and shoot Timothy Jebediah Jones here down. What does your day one loadout look like? Which guns are you going to be rolling in? And what gun would you like to see covered the most in our next deep dive series? Drop it in the comments below. I'm all here for it. Also, if you want to have a 2-shot LMG that absolutely shreds, look at the RAL. That thing is not from this world and it's going to dominate both games.